What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new Andor review as we're going to get into episode number 11. Believe it or not, the penultimate episode just before we get into the season finale. It is truly building up to this, and I honestly have no idea how this is going to end. There are two people in mind that I really am fascinated to see how their story ends. One, clearly Andor. He is free as of right now, but unfortunately with the learning of his mother's death in Marva in here, you know he's getting that pull to go ahead and return to Ferrix, where they are just simply waiting for this man, right? So does he return? And if he does return, does he get caught? And the second person I'm really looking forward to and seeing is Anton Krieger. They've been talking about this poor guy being left for dead, understanding that he has a mission that he certainly is planning on doing, and the ISB is onto him. They're ready to go ahead and jump him, catch him by surprise, and really it's the idea of the rebellion knowing he's gonna get caught. Do we go? Do we help him? Do we leave him for dead, sort of thing? I am very eager to kind of see how that storyline plays out, and if by leaving Anton, if for some strange, crazy reason the ISB still think that maybe there's a bigger scheme certainly going on. That's certainly something that Luthen is trying to prevent. There was a great line in here that Saw Gerrera winds up giving, which shout out to Forrest Whitaker for making a second appearance in here. But you know, the idea of having to leave Anton for dead, you know, definitely took some convincing by Luthen to talk some sense into Saw. But I love the line that he winds up giving. You know, he says what does he say? He says something along the lines of for the greater good. And Luthen says, you can call it whatever you want. And then Saw winds up saying, let's call it war. And that's exactly what it comes down to. The things that you're willing to sacrifice and do that probably just eats at your inside, some things that you don't want to do, but in order for the greater good, the bigger picture to certainly unfold, there definitely have to be some sacrifices in here. And it's interesting to see Luthen try and convince Saw Gerrera about that here in this episode. If anything, listen, I'm gonna be honest, I think Stellan Skarsgard, who plays Luthen, should get a Emmy nomination for his performance in this season. He has been spectacular, and he immediately has a gravitas and a presence about him when he's on screen. And the past two episodes that we've seen him, whether he's talking to, Leon, the guy, the Imperial officer that he has working on the inside, or even talking to Saw, just some very heavy material and dialogue and thought process for him to go through, and he's just performing to his utmost, man. I mean, I absolutely love seeing this guy in this series, and he's really doing it for me, to be perfectly honest with you. But I guess we should probably talk a little bit about Luthen in this episode, right? I mean, we wind up having Vel winds up returning to Luthen's place. I believe she winds up bumping into Clea, his assistant, and tries to give her some information in the sense that, look, you need to reach out to Andor because the Empire's looking for him. Marva, his mother, is dead. If he finds out, he's gonna go back. So you need to contact or find Andor before he forces the Empire to sort of spring their trap on him, if you will. So, you know, there's a part of me that thinks that Clea and Luthen, especially towards the end of the episode when they're communicating with each other, I feel very much like they're disguising what it is that they're certainly talking about. The sense that, hey, I've talked to Saw, I let him know what's certainly going on. The other person that he's referring to, I would assume in that conversation he was talking about Andor, that Andor is sort of the next missing piece that he certainly needs to address. But the way that they communicate with each other is pretty interesting to make it sound like buyers and traders for maybe artifacts that he's, you know, clearly has a storefront for, type of thing. So I thought that was actually pretty interesting to see their coded messages and things like that. But for me, the two scenes that honestly did it, one was the Saw Gerrera scene, because I love seeing Saw just so incredibly paranoid. Like, Forrest Whitaker just really captures that aspect of Saw Gerrera, just somebody who just does not trust anybody. Doesn't matter who it certainly is. And that definitely includes Luthen, like his exuberance when he initially, you know, asked him about doing the job, very much hesitant. But now that we see Saw Gerrera again, he's like, I'm all on board. Let's go ahead and do it. You just tell him he's got to follow my lead, sort of thing, right? With his demand. plans. But the moment that he finds out from Luthen that there's a much bigger picture going on, and kind of questioning the idea of like, do you have an insider in the Imperial in the Empire? And if you have an insider there, where else do you have insiders? Are they everywhere? Do you have somebody on my crew, sort of thing, feeding you information, sort of thing? So just the paranoia just immediately overtook him. And I love the idea of Luthen trying to navigate this dude's paranoid mind. Like, I think even one of his henchmen, the Two Tubes guy, was like, he's kind of in a mood before you talk to him, so you might want to know that. And Luthen's like, mentally noted. And so the idea that he's got to talk to Saw Gerrera knowing that he's in the mood and he is the paranoid type, not easy. So I can understand why Luthen would certainly pull a gun on this man to like, listen to me please, just to like grab his attention and really to get him focused again. And he certainly does. You know, look, Saw Gerrera has always been very much the reckless type of guy. I don't know if that's something that he's learned from Luthen, or he's already been that extremist to a certain level. But I really love the characteristics that Saw brings to the table for this series. Just add a whole nother dimension and somebody else for Luthen or Stellan Skarsgard to have to bounce his performance off of. So I love seeing those two together on screen. I thought that was an amazing sequence that we wind up having. And then of course, when he winds up getting pulled over by the Imperial, I don't want to say it was definitely wasn't a Star Destroyer. It almost looked like it was like a giant radar on this guy's dish, like a tractor beam or whatever the case may be. But the fact that they pull him over, and I just love the quick thinking by Luthen in here to come up with like false codes, clearly having a ship that a lot of people certainly underestimated, especially the Empire. Like, I've never seen a system like that before in Star Wars, when you're pulled into a tractor beam and in order to get out of it, you got to destroy the dish. So he's got I don't know what they were. Like, it wasn't even missiles. It almost was like giant steel needles or whatever the case may be, just shooting out of the rear end of his ship, where they get pulled in by the tractor and they're just destroying this tractor beam sort of thing to weaken it and allow him to leave. And that ship is pretty badass. I don't know the name of his ship, but the type of technology that he's got on it, like, I even love when he did the spins and he had the lasers kind of shooting out that would destroy anything sort of in his way. I mean, the man single-handedly took out some TIE fighters and really did some damage to that ship before jumping into hyperspace, and I think really being underestimated by many. I didn't know Luthen certainly had it in him. I know he was he definitely felt like a dangerous fella, but the idea of being that prepared for the Empire, almost seemingly like in any circumstance, hella impressive, man. Hella impressive. Like, not to say that Andor hasn't felt like Star Wars, but the fact that we get ourselves in an Andor series, a space in battle, just felt like home, if you ask me. Just continue to add on to why I truly enjoy this series as much as I certainly do. So the Luthen stuff, really, really fantastic to certainly see how that wind up turning out. Mon Mothma seems to be like she's in a lot of freaking trouble still at this point, unfortunately. The one thing I learned from Mon Mothma in here in regards to her daughter, you know, I don't know if that's like her daughter seems very much religious, very much has gotten into the spiritual life. Apparently she's meeting with her group, talking scripture, saying prayers and chants and things like that. I don't know if that's a Chandrella. I'm probably not even pronouncing it right. Like, I don't know if that's a Chandrillan sort of like ritual or tradition or whatever the case may be, or if this is like some sort of like religious sect that you wind up just getting involved in, maybe from the influence of her father, who certainly knows. But you know what, man, I am so tired of this girl's rolling her eyes to her mom and these dirty looks that she's given Mon Mothma. Like, I'm sorry, bro, like, you were old enough to get slapped across the face looking at me like that. Like, I don't care how you feel about me, you're gonna respect me, man. And it just continues to show me just how far down a rabbit hole that Mon Mothma's life it really is for her right now. She's got no love for her husband. Her daughter has nothing to certainly do with her. She spent 400,000 credits to go ahead and help the rebellion, and not thinking, oh, maybe I need a VPN to cover up my tracks, or, you know, to do something in which they can't track this back to me. And now that she feels like she's got the Empire IRS on her case to kind of see how she's been utilizing these funds and stuff, it's only a matter of time before they find her, since she didn't do her best to hide how she was certainly using this money, and has now come, which seems like she's come into a situation where maybe she's really taking Davos' suggestion, his recommendation, to heart. The idea of maybe having her daughter wed this guy's, or be part, a marriage arrangement for this guy's son. The fact that she even tells Vel this, not necessarily the full truth, but she definitely tells her just how bad of a situation she's definitely in, and it seems very much like she's now worried Vel as well. It feels like the Empire's walls and grasp is definitely closing on this group, whether you're Luthen and Dedra's looking for you as access, whether it's Dedra and the Empire trying to allow these people to have a funeral for Marva and maybe trap Andor in, sort of thing, right? Like, they really setting things up to go ahead and maybe capture some of these rebellions. Whether you're Anton or Andor, you're all part of their trap. So it is interesting to kind of see how it's coming together for the Empire, and Mon Mothma, unfortunately, is dead set in the middle. And I think Genevieve O'Reilly has been doing a great job in regards to showing the worry and the concern and the fear that Mon Mothma has in the situation that she definitely has put herself in. And I kind of feel for her, man. Like, I feel really bad for her. And again, it does make me wonder, with the finale next week, does she get caught? Does she get captured? Does she run away and join the rebellion in some other shape or form? I am really curious to know what her fate is going to be after season 1, which I believe the time span of this entire season has been a full year also. So interesting developments when it comes to Mon Mothma. And if anything, just talking about Andor a little bit in here, we unfortunately learn about the passing of Marva, his mother. I don't know how much time has passed since the last episode or the last time we saw Marva, but her droid B is just not taking it well whatsoever. It almost feels like B has been traumatized, emotionally scarred. I love the way that this episode kind of really begins just zooming in on the eye of B, seeing the shaking and stuff, and really giving B a further personality. Like, the one thing I will certainly always give Lucasfilm and Star Wars credit for, I think they create some of the best droids. Like, there's really not a droid that I hate, especially if you are sort of the main lead, not the main lead, but the main droid of a show or a movie. I think they've done some remarkable things with B, and to be able to give him such a personality and such depth to feel for this droid who clearly loves Marva and just wants the company and wants her back, sort of thing, doesn't want to leave her side, just shows the loyalty and, again, just the personalities of these droids. And I think they've done a remarkable job in really bringing them to life. So now that Marva has unfortunately passed away, it comes down to the idea of them giving her a funeral, which was an interesting way that they do things on Ferrix, or maybe it's just for the daughters of Ferrix. I'm not quite sure, but I guess they cremate you until you turn to ash, and then they take that ash and then they wind up putting it into a mold to go ahead and create a brick. So then you become a brick, and in that brick they wind up adding you to a wall, if you will. Now, I don't know what that wall represents, standing firm, a fortified group of people that have died for Ferrix, you know what I mean? Maybe it's symbolism in that sense, but I do find it interesting that the Empire is like, hey, let them have their funeral, even if it's for a day or two. That gives us time so that Andor could hopefully learn about his mother's passing and come back. And that's exactly what happened with Andor. Is now that he's free and he's he made it to safety, his first thing of business is to go back to where he was originally on his vacation island, pick up his lost credits and his gun and things like that and make a clean getaway. And the idea of reaching out to Ferrix to learn a little bit more, or at least tell Marva that he was safe, sort of thing, not knowing. I am interested about the gentleman on the other side of that communication. Has he been compromised by the Empire? Did the Empire want him to tell Andor all along about his mom? Like, did they give him orders? Or is it a case of this guy has no idea he's being watched or listened to, and he winds up just letting Andor know? And I gotta assume that the Empire is just hoping that Andor learns at some point in time, because leave it up to Cassian, he's gonna show up on Ferrix. It doesn't matter how dangerous the situation is, he's probably gonna want to go ahead and say farewell. So I'm under the impression that he definitely will be popping up on that planet, and it'll be interesting to see if Dedra, or even Cyril for that matter, wind up bumping into him. The fact that Cyril has learned about Andor's mother's passing means even he knows he's set to go ahead and return, and Cyril winds up, it looks like, stealing some credits from his mom in order to maybe get a ship or head back that way. Now, listen, there was a part of me that was under the impression that Cyril might even kill his mom. I don't know what made me think of that, but I just kept thinking, like, over the past couple episodes, seeing the way that she talks to him, I'm like, bro, how do you stand it? Like, how do you just sit and bear it? Like, he comes across as a really creepy and weird dude as it is, especially the way that he was holding on to Dedra. Like, there is some weird, creepy sexual tension between those two. So I thought, hey, if he's capable of that, maybe there's some point in time he just snaps and is just tired of his mother condescending him all the time and talking down to him, and he just winds up just getting her out of his life. That's just the impression I get from Cyril. The way that he reacts to his mother sometimes is like, yeah, this is a serial killer just in the making, getting tired of listening to his mom all the time. But Cyril definitely has a bone to pick, and this might even bring him a little bit closer to Dedra as well. So I'm really excited to see what this finale is truly going to be all about. And just a quick side mention in here, we did get introduced to some new aliens. I did get the name of one of the aliens in Freedi, as we get to see Andor and his companion that wind up escaping the prison, trying to make a break for an abandoned ship, or these two alien ship, and then they're unfortunately captured. What looks to be like some sort of like, I don't know what type of species they were, but it felt like a very gelatinous or wet sort of coral net. I don't know what they were certainly in, but definitely captured them, and they were under the impression that these guys were going to kill them, but they eventually decided to go ahead and let them go, realizing that they were actually trying to escape from the Empire, and they weren't necessarily the Empire that was, as they put it, sort of killing the water or killing maybe the fish in the water. They seemed very much like fishermen, or they were trying to capture something from the waters, and maybe they're just not the happiest with what the Empire has certainly done to their land. So I put in my notes local fishermen. I really didn't know, but I'm kind of curious if you guys know the species of aliens that these two were. Let me know, along with the name of the other alien outside of Freedi. But overall, guys, another solid, enjoyable episode, to certainly say the least. I wish we had a little bit more Andor in here than what we certainly did. But the Luthen and Saw Gerrera stuff was fantastic. Mon Mothma stuff was pretty good as well. And we'll see where the finale leads us off at. But 11 episodes in, I truly appreciate the depth, the amazing dialogue, great character work, incredible special effects, great musical score to this series as well. This is definitely grown up Star Wars, and I'm here for the finale next week, guys, as we certainly will be giving you our thoughts once the episode drops. But for now, that's definitely going to be it for me. But listen, do me a big favor as always, guys. We'll be back next week, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. May the Force be with you. Bye.